passion for a better life.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 24 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I've said this many times. What is my favorite type of a book, Robin? What do I always say? Biographies.
Exactly.
I always love biographies. I like true stories. I like seeing and reading how people lived and how they went from one part of their life to another, how they accomplished what they accomplished, what they went through, how they got through the hard times, you know, and I think nobody is spared from hard times. Nobody is spared from things that you wonder, why was I put through this? We all have them. I don't think money or any social status or anything erases it. Nor do I think that anybody is left out of happiness. It seems like everybody, no matter the littlest, poorest child in the mud places that you see in those stories, even those kids have moments when they're probably happy. Well, neither of the above applies to our next guest, but she has written her memoir, and it feels like I've been a fly on the wall. Ceil Lucas is on the phone. She has written her memoir, and it's too short. I'm sure there's way more she could have written or published. It's called How I Got Here. She is an historian, a professor. How do you say this, Robin? Emerita?
Yep, Emerita.
She teaches Italian. She retired from Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., where she taught linguistics through American Sign Language. Oh, my gosh, isn't that impressive? And she was born here, spent most of her life elsewhere, but is purely American. I think I remember reading that her ancestors came here 10 generations ago or 11 generations, something like that? All right.
It's wonderful.
Everything I don't know, I'm going to
story.
find out right now. But it was almost like discovering somebody else's box of photographs, you know, and then having a guided tour of what those photographs represent.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. Ceil Lucas, good morning, Ceil.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. You're giving me goosebumps.
You're like famous. You're like famous to me. You know why? Because I feel like I know you, but you don't know me. It's like when you bump into somebody famous, you know them, but they don't know you. That's what you are right now. Yeah.
Well, it's very nice to meet you, both of you.
And where are you?
I'm in Elk Ridge, Maryland, which is about 15 minutes south of Baltimore.
See, I was so looking forward to talking to you. I was trying to figure out what accent had you adapted after living in so many places. Now I'm trying to hear that. That almost sounds like a Jersey accent or something. I don't know.
41 years in this area, I do go home and I answer the phone. So, which is Baltimore, Delaware, whatever. But my mom was from Illinois and my dad was from New Mexico, and we spoke English at home.
Yeah. So the dialect comes from your mom and dad a little bit.
Probably, yeah.
So how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking.
So what was the moment when you said, I have to write this down? What was that moment before the book started, before the first word was written?
I think it was, probably 25, 30 years ago when I started realizing, wow, that was a pretty lucky childhood. Because as you know, I was born in Phoenix, but we moved to Guatemala when I was 5, and then my dad was offered a job in Rome. So I was there for 12 years, from ages 9 to 21, and it was the particular 12 years because it was 1960 to 72, and also in Guatemala it was a very tumultuous time. And I thought, I've got all these memories, and as you said, I've got lots of photographs. My mother was wonderful about taking and keeping photos, and I said, I have to write this. I have to put these memories down. But at the same time, I was starting to work on my genealogy, and my mother had kept pretty good records. And as I went along and I started planning the memoir, I probably started planning it about 10 years ago. And I said, these people's stories are mine. This, how I think about myself has everything to do with a guy who sailed from England to Philadelphia in 1679, and my mother's people who came to Maryland's Eastern Shore in 1654, that's how I think about myself. And so they need to be included. So
Right.
what ended up happening was what I've been calling, excuse me, a genealogical memoir.
If you look at the history books, let me say this a different way. If somebody was to say to me, "Oh my gosh, you lived during the assassination of JFK," I would say, "Yeah, but it wasn't really part of my life. It was just in the news."
Yes.
But some of the political things that were happening around you really were affecting the life
Yes.
that you went through.
Yes, and unfortunately, my father passed in 81, and I dearly wish that I had asked him a bunch of questions. I mean, the book, as you know, it starts with my mother saying, Daddy has been called to the presidential palace to be a pallbearer.
Mm-hmm.
God.
And I remember thinking, unfortunately, after he passed, okay, what is an American civil engineer? He did speak Spanish, but nevertheless, why is he a pallbearer at the funeral of this Guatemalan president?
Yeah, there must have been
so
something there. That's a missing piece of your own puzzle.
Right, and I was 7, or 6
Yeah,
at the
right,
time.
sure,
so,
sure.
I was having a fabulous childhood, but it really struck me, and doing the research was really fun, and I had some very good contacts in Guatemala City. There's a picture in there of my dad at the funeral with his hand on the coffin, which somebody helped me find.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So,
are you still finding things now? Like, are you still digging?
Oh yeah, because I kind of limit it to the direct line on my father's side and the direct line on my mother's side. But my father's mother I haven't done as much work on, or my mother's mother. I worked on the male lines basically, but I want to go back to both of those.
And is that because names are easier to trace, and because in our culture the male name is what we take?
It's more just what information is available. I'm having a really hard time on my father's mother, and I know where she was at certain times, and I can't find her in the census. I can't find her, so I'm going to need some more help on that. But there's something that I didn't deal with in the memoir, which I should have, and I don't know if I'm going to revise it or whatever, but it's kind of hard to say, the people on the Eastern Shore, that land was called the Kinnaman Plantation for a reason.
Okay.
That they owned slaves.
Oh, okay. And you weren't sure whether to say that?
No, it's just that I didn't know it until after the memoir was done.
Oh, I see.
And likewise, some of them ended up in North Carolina, and it's right there in the 1810 census. The two people, the husband and the wife, and one slave.
Yeah, and you're right. Your history goes back to Oliver Cromwell's Scottish prisoners and to the 1893 Oklahoma land rush. I mean, gosh,
right.
It's just so amazing that you're able to trace your history back, all of those lineages.
Well, I'm grateful to. There's a long in an Oklahoma Historical Society magazine. There's a long description of my great grandfather and my grandfather participating in the land rush. So without that, and without the Oklahoma Historical Society and the Annapolis Archives and etc. I mean, all these places that are such fabulous guardians of the memories. Those of us who are interested in this aren't going very far.
If anybody was to ever look at the very first broadcast of the Today Show, I think it was. Yeah, it was the Today Show. You see people smoking all throughout the studio. They're smoking on the air. The microphone is as big as a baseball bat. It's unbelievable. But the smoking is what I wanted to get to. And you have a little tiny chapter in the book about the cigarettes. Yeah, tell the audience that story.
Well, this was my friend. We were exactly the same age, and we were in Italy. We were probably 12 at the time. We lived across the street from each other, and at that time, this is again at that point 62 maybe. So, 17 years after the war, and you could still go into the tobacco store and buy single cigarettes. And they would put them in a little paper bag for you.
Wow.
And some people actually bought one because that's all they could afford.
Yeah.
The point being that people couldn't afford a whole pack yet. And so we decided we were going to try cigarettes. So we marched in there with her little brother, who is about 4 or 5 years younger. And he was, of course, foisted upon us. You know, if you're going out, you have to take him with you. So off we went. So I think we bought 2 cigarettes. The matches were free. They came with, the cigarettes. And we installed ourselves under a bush in a park. And, we're immediately disenchanted. We were coughing and hacking.
Right.
Deciding we were never going to do this again. But we reeked of cigarette smoke. So she got home, and her mother took one sniff and said, "What's going on?" And she asked the brother, and he didn't want to lie.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to rat us out, but he didn't want to lie, and so he said, "Well, they put long white objects in their mouths and lit them." Which, he came out smelling like a rose.
Yeah.
And of course, my mother was called, and I got a lecture, and et cetera. But he's now 60 and has still not lived that down. So. Oh,
that's funny. That's funny stuff.
Anyway, but it was a combination of, it was a kind of innocence at that time. That they would sell cigarettes to 12-year-old girls.
Yeah.
It's for my dad.
I just love it because I don't know why. I just like looking back at people's lives, how people made it through. And it's fascinating how when you go on when you plan a vacation, you never when it's all over and you look back on it, some of the most fun memories couldn't have possibly been planned, and that's kind of what we're seeing in your memoir. Some of the most fun memories are probably things that if you knew they were about to happen, you would have avoided them, like the story you just told.
Right. But it was also just part of normal. Well, in those days. In those days in Italy, you could smoke in the movie theater.
Oh, here too.
And if you,
sure.
Yeah. If you see movies like Cinema Paradiso and others, that involve Italian movies that have cinema in them, people are smoking, and you had to look through the smoke to see the screen. Right. Everybody smoked, except women did not smoke on the street at that time.
Is that right?
It was not considered appropriate. Yeah.
We'll take a little break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Ceil Lucas, and the book is called How I Got Here. I just love this. We have a sneak peek into somebody else's life, and there's a lot you can relate to, a lot that you maybe can't relate to, especially if you've only lived in America. But it's fascinating nonetheless. And we'll be right back. This is WOCA.
Thank you so much.
By myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For Tuesday, variable clouds, a shower in spots and breezy, high 79 to 84. And then Tuesday night, mostly cloudy, a brief shower or two near the coast with a low of 65 to 73. Wednesday, breezy with intervals of clouds and sunshine, a shower in spots mainly in the afternoon, high 83 to 87. And Thursday, sun and some clouds, a shower in spots near the coast with a high of 84 to 87. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Evan Duffy.
On this episode of What Not to Do, brought to you by
Mike's Got Plumbing. If water runs through it, we do it.
I love vacations, but it's good to come home.
Is the pool overflowing?
We don't have a pool, and even if we did, it wouldn't be on the second floor.
Oh.
I told you before we left to turn off the water main.
I thought you said take down the weather vane.
We don't have one of those either.
Yeah, I was wondering why you said that. It does make more sense now.
Okay, genius, don't just stand there. Cut the main water off.
Okay, I'll go get the chainsaw.
Wait, what? No! What do we do when there's a plumbing issue?
Oh, I got this one. I'll be right back.
I said no chainsaw. Shut the water off and call Mike's Got Plumbing.
Of course. I definitely was not going for the blowtorch.
Uh-huh. The number should be etched in your memory, but just in case, 866-314-4443.
Okay, got it. 866-314-4443.
On next week's episode of What Not to Do.
Really? A mariachi band?
Are
Are you in need of custom screen printing, embroidery, or promotional items? Then look no further and come visit the brand new Legacy Team Sales. LTS is conveniently located off 17th Street next to Armstrong Homes in beautiful Ocala. We offer the best prices and highest quality products for your company, team, school, or nonprofit. Whether looking for screen printed shirts, embroidered polos, or travel team uniforms, you'll be sure to find it at Legacy Team Sales. Come visit our new 27,000 square foot facility. Our friendly and knowledgeable sales staff will assist you in every part of your custom purchase. LTS carries the hottest brands in the industry like Under Armour, Russell, Mizuno, Asics, Badger Sports, Gildan, Pacific, Ogio, and many more. At LTS, screen printing embroidery is done in-house and we guarantee customer satisfaction. Stop by, give us a call, or check us out on the web at shoplts.com. Remember the name, LTS.
Hi, I'm Seth with AA Lock, Dock, and Security. Have you ever thought about the locks or security on your house or business? Have you ever wondered why the keys to your new car cost so much? Well, at AA Lock, Dock, and Security, we can help with securing your valuables. We can even replace those expensive transponder keys. We can give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
All right, 8 minutes before 11 o'clock, and looks a little bit overcast today. Ceil Lucas is on the phone. Her memoir is titled How I Got Here. I just went to Amazon, and it's a five-star ratings, all five-star ratings. Mm-hmm. The reviews are touching because you can tell that some of the people who've read her book are have walked in her footsteps more or less. You know, I never heard the term, oh gosh, what is it again? Third... What do they call you again? Third culture kids. I never heard that before.
Oh, yeah. And one of the guys, I think, who has a review on Amazon, we were classmates at the school in Rome.
Oh, okay.
And he's also written a memoir called La Dolce Vita, and it's about the same school and the same, I mean, we take different approaches to it. But he said, oh, yeah, non-American Americans. And that's perfect.
Oh, gosh, I have so many questions that are kind of political in nature, but personal specifically. In other words, were you were kind of young, so I don't know if this would apply, but maybe in later years it did apply. Did your view of American politics evolve differently than it might have had you grown up here completely?
I think so. I mean, I noticed it mainly when I came back for college in 1969 to Walla Walla, Washington, which is in the southeast corner of the state, fairly conservative, and it's a small college. And I came in 1969 from an Italy that was intensely political. And everybody was interested in what was going on, and there wasn't that much TV coverage in those days, but everybody read the newspaper and the magazines and was, constant discussions. And even though we did have some anti-war marches in Walla Walla, but I was struck by how my classmates were not that interested in the political goings-on. And I also came in 1969 from Italy with a view of the Vietnam War, mm-hmm. which was, not entirely supportive, I have to say.
Right. What about did being an American have a stigma to it? Were you discriminated against because of that?
In Italy or in Guatemala?
In any of the places you were when you were younger?
I don't think so. I mean, there were different kinds of Americans. I mean, as I mentioned in the book, there were kids who lived on the air bases in Verona and Vicenza, Naples, Livorno, who didn't learn to speak Italian and who didn't have very many Italian friends. And I don't know that they were discriminated against, but they were certainly viewed as separate.
Okay, yeah.
But the people I knew, I mean, we all spoke Italian. We had Italian friends. We were... As I think I say in the book, I kind of saw it as my job, to be as integrated as I could.
Did you? And the language is an important part of that. Gosh, how can you really become immersed in the culture unless you know the language? Was that hard for you to learn the languages?
Not at all.
How many do you actually are fluent in? 4?
At this point, 6.
6. My gosh.
Wow.
Oh my God. Oh wow.
But the first 4 were pure luck, because I mean, the house was English. I lucked out because in Guatemala, the woman who ran the school said, "Well, kids need languages."
Yeah.
So we had Spanish, English, and French, and then we moved to Italy in the fall of 1960, the day after the Olympics ended, by the way.
Oh my.
Yeah. And by Christmas, I spoke Spanish, and by Christmas I was doing pretty well. But the thing that really nailed it was the summer of '61, there was, if you will, a YMCA camp on the island of Sardinia. And I went there first at age 10 as a camper, and then I went back as a leader and kitchen aide and whatever.
Yeah.
But that first summer, there were very few of us who were American. Most of the campers were Italians from Rome. And so I have a Roman accent that you can cut with a knife. So. But that was it.
When you got older, did you allow yourself to become romantically involved, or did you know that you would be going to the United States, so you protected yourself against that?
No, of course. The first boyfriend was half Belgian and half Italian. His father ran the YMCA camp, and so it was, political to boot. And the relationship, we lasted 4 years, because in the middle of that I came back for college, which was a huge thing, yeah. But the relationship was entirely in Italian. So, of course,
wow.
He's now,
that's cool.
65 and living in Italy, and, there it is.
And you still keep in touch?
Course.
You just keep in touch with Facebook?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Robin told me that you have a Facebook page for the book, or for yourself as an author?
There's an author Facebook page, and I am, with some qualms, because I'm 65, I'm on Twitter. But I do have an account on, I think it's Lucas Ceil Author, at Lucas Ceil Author, and that's Ceil.
Okay.
And so both of those places, and I'm on LinkedIn also. So.
Okay. Let me ask you. I know we have less than a minute and a half, but I'm curious. If I go back to my old neighborhood as where I was a kid, I'm there physically, but I'm not there. The people who were there, everybody's gone, and they always say you can't go back. But you went back in the book. Did you feel like you actually went back in time, and was it sad to come back to the present?
It was. I had the experience that a lot of people had when I went back, for example, to the elementary school in Rome, and I felt like a giant because everything was so small. But at the time I was 10 and 11, so it was normal size for me.
Yeah.
It's hard now because I have because of working in deafness, I developed a whole new set of friends and colleagues who were working with deaf people in sign language in Italy.
Oh, really?
In '84. So now I have a whole new repertoire of friends and colleagues that I didn't know. But I also, I didn't know anything about deaf people in Italy when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And
Ceil, we have to go, and I've loved this conversation. For the listeners,
I have too.
I have a copy of the book. Call me if you want the one that was sent to us. The rest of us have to go buy it. Go to Amazon, and that's where you can buy the book. It's again called How I Got Here. How I got to the Amazon page was I simply typed in How I Got Here, and Ceil Lucas came up first. Thank you, Ceil.
Thank you so much.
This is WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The number killed in North Carolina because of Hurricane Matthew climbing by 3 to 14 people.
North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory says 2 of those people died when their cars were